My name's Milo Wilo, and I want to tell you a story. Another gaming handheld had made its way into my life, and at the same time I was realizing gaming was kind of changing. And it changed forever. Back when I was in 8th grade, the PSP released, and it was phenomenal. About 6 months before that, the DS had released, and being somebody that had a Game Boy Advance SP, I loved how sleek the SP was. There were no frills. It was just a flat brick of like it was what it was. It was its own little package. And when I saw the DS for the first time, somebody on the school bus had it, and it just looked bloated, and the rounded corners and the sort of obtuse shape. I could just tell it wasn't it. And I remember the first time I saw a commercial for the PSP, it looked like aliens made it out of their spaceship, and it looked like the future, and I was hooked. I didn't get one for the first couple years they were out, and luckily my stepbrother, who's about 6 years older than I am, he just happened to grow out of gaming as I moved to a new town the summer of my 9th grade year, and he gave me a PSP and a stack full of games, probably 15 to 20. I don't remember most of them. I remember being amazed at how much games had come, because you gotta think, my previous handheld experience for that was the SP. So I'm playing Pokemon, I'm playing Kirby, I'm playing Pokemon and Kirby and Tetris, and now I'm playing Pursuit Force and Twisted Metal and Vice City, and probably the game I played most that summer, Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories, which ironically the best thing I did in that game was probably just run around and listen to the radio and steal whatever car some poor fool was sorry enough to drive by me in. But I joined the football team, and another kid had a PSP, and he showed me this really cool feature where he owned a game, and I had a PSP, and we could link the systems, and I could play a very limited version of what he had. And that was the introduction to my favorite game I've ever played, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. It was awesome. I don't know how else to describe it. I remember playing it on the school bus on the way to a football game on a Friday. And I had begged my parents with my allowance to get me to a GameStop on Saturday. And I played this game. I played a lot. My first wall I ran into was a 3-star quest, I believe. It was a Kazoo. And I'd never seen this thing before, and it bodied me. I had no idea how to fight it. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was young. I didn't know what an iframe was. I didn't know anything about the series. All I knew was this thing was kicking my ass. And it led me to do something that I think changed the world. Even though, like I say, I was a little late to the party because we didn't have internet at home. We didn't have cable at home. So I ended up going to the public library, and my parents would often rent DVDs, and we watch them in the DVD player at home. But while you were at the library, you could have access to the internet for an hour. And I remember getting on the computer, and for the very first time in my life, I got on YouTube. And I looked up how to beat Kazoo, and what I found mesmerized me. And I'll leave a link to the literal video I watched in the description of this video. It was a sped up, hacked version of the game where somebody killed a Kazoo with I don't know if it was a light bow gun. I think it might have been a light bow gun. Killed it with a light bow gun while standing on a ledge so it couldn't get to it, while the offsprings Oh, Jesus. You're Gonna Go Far, Kid was playing. And that's the first time I'd heard that song. And I swear to God, I heard that song and I played it on a repeat for a year. That song made me feel like a goddamn warrior. And I was fighting for my life against this damn Kazoo. And and eventually I got to the point where I was able to beat the Kazoo with skill rather than having to cheese it on a ledge. But in retrospect, it really makes you think that it's like YouTube. There was a point in time when YouTube didn't exist, and you wandered around in games until you figured it out. You'd set them down, you'd come back to them later. But now, and even today, I feel like if there's a puzzle I don't get in a game, I'll look it up. Do I feel a little bit of shame about it? Yeah, maybe a little. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit. But it's like, it's such a temptation. It's like when you're in math class and the teacher says, don't use your calculator unless you need to. And you're so impulsive with it that you know that 6 plus 7 is 13 and you still got to punch it in anyway just because you have to. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of it's a double-edged sword, I think. YouTube kind of dominate, and I mean, there were always like tips books and stuff like that out there, but it was never so accessible because you at least had to buy a tip book. Like, this is free. And yeah, I played the hell out of that Monster Hunter game. I probably had 350 hours in the save file that was my main one. Charles and I, if anybody knows anything about Monster Hunter, Charles was my buddy that had Monster Hunter. We ended up getting through all the G rank classes, and I think it might have been the last quest in the game for the Ukanos. I used to call it Unkelos because I was dyslexic. But we would fight the hell out of that thing, and we'd have, it'd be a sleepover, and all we would do is farm that thing all night. We beat it about 15% of the time, but I remember we eventually made armor out of it because, we had to show our pride, and, we fought for it. We earned it. It's just, it really got me thinking that, thinking outside the box as a kid to use the internet to solve a problem. It seemed like I was thinking outside of the box then. But now it feels like when you resort to it, you kind of aren't even thinking anymore because somebody's already solved that problem. Somebody's figured it out. And in a way, it kind of makes you sad. But, everything's always evolving. Hey, I'm Milo Wilo. Thanks for listening to my video. Have a good one, guys.